Hey everyone, it is time once again for another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. So I pretty much worked on a couple verts today. Jacob started in on the 74 Beetle, the new project, and to no one's surprise, Rafa worked on the Barndoor. No shock there, huh? Anyway, so yeah, let's talk about what he did. So this, the e-brake on this side was not really releasing very well. And it turns out that the e-brake lever, so the one that attaches to the one brake shoe, was bent a little bit, and it was causing it to rub on the backing plate. And so when you would release the e-brake lever up in front, it was kind of dragging enough on the backing plate that it wasn't fully, releasing and letting the brakes close. So easy fix, pull that apart, straighten that out, boom, works great now. So yeah, little things like that. These are old parts, obviously, and sometimes they need a little adjustment. In this case, this e-brake lever was bent a little. Not enough that you could really tell looking at it, but then when the mechanism was together, it was causing some issues. So a little convincing it to be the right shape, and boom, there we go. So let's see what else he did here. He also installed, on the topic of brakes, the steel master cylinder, which you can see there. Very correct looking, with the exception of the plastic cap. So, not super happy about that, but the reservoir itself is bitching. So this came from the Porsche guys. This came from Sierra Madre collection, because 356s pretty much use the same thing. Unfortunately, Sierra Madre only sells a plastic cap to go with this. So we can live with it. But anyway, the reservoir itself looks bitchin', very correct looking. So there you go. There's that. Rafa also installed the heater cables and the mechanism, so you can see that there. So I doubt he's going to be using the heat too much in Hawaii, but it'll be hooked up and it'll work. So that's kind of neat anyway, just to have all this cool stuff functioning even if you don't plan to use it. So yeah, that happened today too. Let's see what else he did today. The starter for this bus, he cleaned it all up, prepped it, and oh, look at that, it's installed too. So a little hard to see, but yeah, this is a super cool old screw terminal type. You can kind of tell by how big and chunky looking the back of the solenoid is there. You see how it's kind of square on the back there, near where the terminals are connected and stuff. So yeah, super cool. The cool thing is, and you're probably not going to be able to see it, but the starter itself had, of course, a Bosch stamp on it, but it also had Australia stamped on it. So super cool. Those of you that follow the channel know that this bus, the origin of this bus is down under in Australia. And so I think these were actually, I think it's called TKD, Total Knockdowns, where they were shipped to Australia from Germany in pieces and then actually assembled over there, something like that. And so it appears that some of the parts were probably sourced locally, in this case the starter, or it was replaced during its lifetime sometime, and maybe that's how it ended up with one that said Australia on it. Regardless, super cool little detail that no one will ever see, but we all know it's there now. But yeah, Australia. This is the Aussie bus, which will be heading back to Hawaii when we're done with it. So a little world traveler going on here with this bus. So super cool, this thing. Yeah, he connected the heater tubes. There's that big tube kind of in the back here, one of those like big flexible tubes. Cleaned out the front heater tubes. So these tubes here were like all packed with dirt and stuff. I don't know how the heck that happened, but he cleared all that out and stuff. Let's see. Oh, here's a big one. There it is. It's probably hard to see, but that is an original and correct Barndoor dome light. So I don't know if you can, I guess you can tell that the base of it is dark. That's because it's Bakelite plastic. So the ones on later buses, the dome light base is actually aluminum. So let's see, does this one have? Yeah, there we go. So here's non-Barndoor one. So yeah, you can see how the base of the dome light is bright. It's aluminum looking. That is not a Barndoor one. And this isn't a Barndoor, so it's correct for this bus. But yeah, so the Barndoor ones are pretty hard to find and they ain't cheap. So there's one. We got another one on its way from Europe for the back there. So yeah, cool details. We're putting original lenses on them. This one didn't come with an original lens. The other one that's on its way, I think may also not have an original lens, but we love those kind of details. So that's what it's getting. Oh, another big thing here, which is super cool. So this bus, when it came in, did not have lever shocks on it. They were just completely missing. So there is one there. So you can see, let's see, where's my finger? You can see the kind of body of it there. It's got 2 pistons in it. And then there's an arm you can see coming out right there. So that's the lever of the lever shock. And then that gets attached to the spring plate hardware via some pieces that we don't have yet. We have coming from Vertainen in, I think he's in Finland, the little link pieces, and then the actual like bolt essentially that takes place on one of the spring plate bolts. Those don't seem to be available as reproductions, and good luck finding some. So we may have to actually fabricate something to get these all hooked up. But yeah, you can see them. This super bitchin' early stuff, lever shocks here. So yeah, not hooked up all the way, mounted to the chassis, but not to the spring plates yet. But yeah, super awesome early stuff here that again the bus didn't have when it came in, so we had to hunt these down, and now we're having to scrounge the world for parts to complete installing them and maybe even fabricate some parts. But how cool is that? So yeah, some kind of big deal things for the Barndoor today. Those lever shocks and the original Barndoor dome light. Yeah, so lots of cool details going into this thing. This thing just keeps getting cooler and cooler by the day, literally. I mean, yesterday getting these brakes, bam. And then won't be long, it'll be getting the matching front ones. So that was pretty much Rafa's day. He may have done a couple of little minor things, but those are kind of the major things. So this one I kind of started on this morning and finished with his back brakes, put those back together. The drum on that side gave me a little bit of trouble getting it back on. I don't know why, so I had to spend some time kind of filing the splines on both the drum and a little bit on the axle itself. I think there were just some burrs in there somewhere, but yeah, so got that all sorted out, got the rear drums on, adjusted the brakes back there. I feel like I might have done a little something else on this one, but it's slipping my mind at the moment. So we'll say those are the major things I did, kind of getting it back on the ground here. So then I turned my attention to this baby, and again, the major complaint from the owner was that it would like stall and you know, sometimes not really start and be kind of unreliable. So I'm just kind of going through and giving it a tune-up, and giving it a tune-up and taking care of some little things like that. So I did go ahead and pull the carburetor today. It was actually pretty clean inside. I think the previous mechanic may have gone through the carburetor, not sure, but you know, just to be safe, and again, we don't trust anyone else's work, went ahead and pulled the carburetor out, blew out all the passages, you know, with carburetor cleaner and stuff like that. So I didn't really find anything wrong with it per se, although some of the adjustments seemed a little wacky on it. These have something called a volume screw and something called a bypass screw that you set the idle speed and idle mixture with, and they were set kind of wonky. And then there's this screw right here, which people think is what you adjust the idle speed with, that is not made for that. And it was adjusted kind of weird. So also another thing which might have been causing it to die was the choke wasn't really, it was adjusted so that when it was cold, it wasn't even really closed at all. And so
I'm wondering if part of her issue with it dying might have been that it wasn't, the choke mechanism wasn't really doing anything. And so when they're cold, sometimes they don't really like to run. The chokes on these actually work pretty well when they're set up right and stuff. So adjusted her choke correctly and stuff like that. So hopefully those things will help. I did find some other potential culprits here why it wasn't running that great. Not the least of which is this plug wire. And I can't imagine this wasn't like arcing through there and losing spark energy. So that probably was not helping it run very well. Another spark plug wire seems to have also had an issue, and somebody put like a piece of shrink tubing or something over it. I'm guessing it probably looks like that underneath that. So super cheesy. Don't know who did that, but come on, people. And then this other spark plug wire, not as bad, but you can definitely see like cracks in the insulation that could have let it arc through there. So pretty sure these were not helping matters. And then the other thing that I found was this little cap that it was on. Let me just show you what this was on. So these have a little vacuum port on the end casting, the intake end casting on this side. If this thing's gonna focus here. Yeah, there we go. So see right there, there's a little cap. So we're not using that little vacuum port. However, this was the plug that was on it, which was, if I can find it now. Where is it? Somewhere. Oh, there it is. Yeah. So this had a tear in it, which actually when it was on there, I guess just due to being expanded a little bit by, being slid on the little port there, this crack in here was pretty open looking. So this thing definitely had a vacuum leak going on through this plug. So that wasn't helping either. So, weird adjusted carburetor, probably very leaky spark plug wires, vacuum leak here. I did go through and check all the valves. They were all pretty spot on. They were all set about 6. I just left them there. We usually set them more like 5, but that's okay. Thousandths of an inch, no big. So I just left them like that. One of them was a little bit on the loose side, so I set it at 6 to match all the others. But yeah, so I'm finding a bunch of little things. I still have to check her ignition timing. Again, the points were spot on. But I'm hoping all these little things are going to add up and it's going to run really well when I'm done. So we shall see. I may fire this thing up tomorrow and take it for a spin, get it good and warmed up, and adjust the carburetor once it's warmed up. Check the ignition timing, obviously, before it's warmed up. You can do that cold, no problem. So yeah, I'm hoping that those will kind of take care of it. What else did I do? So she had, as I mentioned the other day, the dreaded fuel filter, which was sitting right here. Oh, and by the way, where that was sitting was right next to that spark plug wire that had the very leaky looking area on it. So, I mean, yeah, there's 40,000 volts probably leaking out of a wire right next to the fuel filter. So, anyway, so installed a new piece of German cloth fuel line there without a filter. Installed new German cloth hose under here with a filter. So that's where we like to put the filter. So it's not next to high voltage. So yeah, just a lot of little things like that. The other thing that I did was that, as you can see, this car has been, the deck lid was always hitting the bumper when you would open it and close it. And that's why the paint was all chipped off. And so you had to kind of like stand on the bumper to even close this. I just, a simple matter of loosening the bumper brackets up and pushing it down as much as I could, and it clears now. So, I'm trying to take care of some little things like that for her as well. I still need to actually take the battery out of this car because I suspect the battery may have a bad cell in it. And I also suspect that this car may have something draining the battery because I had it charged up pretty good the other day. And I was checking voltages on something earlier, and it looked like the battery voltage may be down to like 6 volts.
even though it was at 12 or so just a few days ago. So I think this thing may have a drain on it when the car's just sitting. So those are no fun to trace out at all, and I'm hoping it doesn't, because I don't want to get into that. However, it's just going to continue to give her problems if we don't take care of that. If in fact it is sitting there like draining the battery, because then if she goes a couple days without driving it, then boom, she's got a dead that's a tongue twister, dead battery. So yeah, we'll see. Another thing I need to check out for this. This is ending up being a much longer video today than I was really intending, but let's walk outside real quick here. So what Jacob did today was he started disassembling this guy. And yeah, he got off the indicator lights, the bumpers, pulled all the trim off, headlights, stuff like that, radio antenna, the outside rear view mirror. So yeah, we're starting to strip this thing down here so that we can get going on the body work. As soon as the 69 bus is painted, we're gonna dive right in on this one. So in the meantime, yeah, just kind of starting to disassemble it. So that is it for today, guys. Sorry this was a bit of a long one, but kind of had a lot to talk about. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.